Today we're going to learn about earthquakes, and at the end of the presentation there'll be a link to a reading related to the earthquakes that happened in Mexico in September of this year. At any time during the video, be sure to pause if you need to write down or answer questions on your note-taking sheet. What are earthquakes? We've already discussed previously that the Earth is divided into several layers. The outer layer, also known as the crust or the lithosphere, is divided into tectonic plates. Earthquakes are a result of vibrations that occur under the ground from a release of energy, oftentimes due to plate tectonic motion. It could also happen due to volcanic activity. Look at the two pictures below. On the left side are plate boundaries outlined on a map of the Earth. And on the right side are recorded earthquakes that have occurred between 1980 and 2017. What do you notice about these two pictures? You might notice that the earthquakes very clearly outline the plate boundaries, and even though not every earthquake occurs along plate boundaries, the majority of them do. Now let's talk about earthquake motion. The energy that is released in waves, and these are called seismic waves. Notice the picture that's given. Seismic waves are represented by the red concentric circles emanating from the focus. Focus and epicenter are also two new vocabulary words. Be sure to write information about focus and epicenter from this presentation on your note sheet. Purely based on location, what's the difference between the focus and the epicenter? You might have realized that the focus is below ground while the epicenter is directly above ground. According to the diagram, do seismic waves originate from the focus or the epicenter? As you look at the diagram, you can see the red concentric circles which are representing the seismic waves. And you can see that there's a fault in the Earth, which might be a plate boundary, where energy is getting released. As you can see in the diagram, the blue arrows are originating from the focus below ground, and they are moving upwards and outwards until it hits the epicenter. That means that seismic waves originate at the focus and move outwards to the epicenter. But there is more than one type of seismic wave. Look at the pictures, and you can see that there are actually several types of seismic waves. The first type of seismic wave is the first type that originates from the focus, and this is called the primary wave, also known as the P wave. It causes particles to move in a back and forth motion. After the P wave, the S waves come out of the focus. And these seismic waves are also known as secondary waves because they happened second. They cause particles to move perpendicular to the direction of where they came out of from the focus. There are also several groups of waves called surface waves, with Rayleigh waves being an example of one. These cause a rolling motion on the Earth's surface. Surface waves only happen at the surface and are often the most destructive. Their motion is a circular motion on the ground, which will often cause damage to land and buildings. Seismologists are scientists that monitor and study earthquakes. They monitor earthquakes using machines called seismographs. Seismograms are the written record from seismographs. Seismograms provide information to scientists regarding the strength of the seismic waves that were released during an earthquake. These are then studied, and these can be measured on a scale called the Richter Scale. The Richter Scale is the scale that measures the energy released from earthquakes. or measures the strength of the seismic waves. Why do higher numbers on the Richter scale cause more damage? As you can tell, lower numbers represent weak seismic waves, while higher numbers represent stronger seismic waves. So higher numbers indicate stronger, more powerful seismic waves. And the stronger or more powerful the seismic wave, the more damage that it can cause when the seismic wave reaches from focus to epicenter. You'll notice that weak waves can only be detected by a seismograph. But as waves increase in intensity, they start to cause damage. You'll notice that at a 5 or higher, furniture will start to move and become damaged. From 6 to 6.9, damage to buildings can start to occur. At a 7 to 8 or 7 to 7.9, buildings can actually be displaced or moved from their foundation. And this is considered catastrophic. As damage increases from 8, 8.9, and 9 and over, you start to have total destruction. Now, you're going to check out an article related to the earthquake that happened in Mexico earlier this year in September. As you read the article, you have questions that are related to the article on your note-taking worksheet. Be sure to answer the questions. You could also read the article yourself, or you have the option of pressing this button and the article will be read to you. Either way, be sure to answer the questions at the end of the note-taking worksheet. Hopefully this presentation has given you some new information regarding earthquakes. It has taught you a little bit about seismic waves that can cause damage to buildings, where the seismic waves originate from the focus to the epicenter, and the type of motion that occurs at the epicenter due to the seismic waves. Keep all this in mind, as well as the actual information regarding the earthquake that happened in Mexico, as you start thinking about ways to make buildings more earthquake resistant. Earthquake resistant buildings are buildings that can withstand damage and collapse. Thank you very much.